I never thought I'd be the kind of person whose life suddenly feels like a bad soap opera, but here I am. Everything felt normal. My job was stressful but manageable, my apartment was cozy, my social circle small but loyal. I had a few close friends, and among them, Jamie had been the one I could vent to about anything, seriously, anything. I thought we had an unshakable bond. I'd been seeing Alex for almost 5 years. Not perfect but good. We had routines, inside jokes, lazy Sundays, quiet dinners. I thought I knew him completely. Jamie, on the other hand, was single, funny, a little reckless, but I trusted her with my life. She came to holidays with my family, celebrated birthdays, even helped me move apartments. Looking back, I realize how much of my life I shared with both of them, Alex and Jamie, but I didn't think to question the overlap. Everything seemed stable. Safe. And yet the first real sign that something was off came in a text I almost deleted without thinking. It started small. Jamie began texting me less, canceling our plans, last minute, but always with a flimsy excuse. I shrugged it off. She had a busy schedule, her job was demanding, and I didn't want to seem clingy. But then I noticed she was oddly defensive when I mentioned Alex, laughing too hard at some of his jokes, lingering on stories about him a little too long. I told myself I was imagining things. I trusted her. Around that time, Alex started acting a little distant too. Not in an obvious way, but subtle. He'd leave his phone unlocked sometimes, which he never did before, and I'd see conversations that didn't make sense, cryptic messages from someone named Jay. I didn't confront him immediately. Part of me was scared of what I might find, part of me hoped I was just overreacting. Looking back now, the signs were screaming at me. I just didn't want to hear them. I wanted my life to stay the way it was. The turning point came one evening when I went over to Jamie's place unannounced, something I normally wouldn't do. I'd just finished a long day, frustrated, craving normal human contact. She answered the door, a little too flustered, phone pressed against her chest. I laughed it off at first, she's always been dramatic, but something felt off. Then I noticed it, a half-finished glass of wine on the counter, 2 sets of keys, and a jacket that wasn't hers. My stomach sank before I even realized what I was thinking. I tried to act casual, made small talk, but my mind was racing. Every laugh, every glance, suddenly had weight. Later that night, I checked Alex's phone while he was in the shower, something I swore I'd never do. The messages were there, but this time, explicit. Late nights, little, miss you, texts, weekend plans he hadn't mentioned. My hands were shaking, my chest tight. I felt like my entire world had tilted, and I didn't know how to breathe. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together, laughing, texting, maybe even lying side by side while I pretended everything was fine. The next morning, I confronted Alex. My voice was trembling before I even got the words out. "Are you seeing someone else?" He froze. For a moment, I thought maybe I was wrong. But then he looked away and said quietly, almost ashamed, I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did." I remember my knees nearly buckling. "Jamie?" I asked, and the silence that followed was worse than any confession. Finally, he whispered her name. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. Everything I thought I knew about trust, loyalty, love, it all shattered in that single breath. I left that day, shaking, unable to look at either of them the same way. My home, my life, everything felt contaminated. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was unmoored. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or throw something across the room. Part of me wanted to confront Jamie immediately, but another part was frozen in disbelief. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone, yet I knew I had to see the messages again, just to make sure I wasn't imagining it. Every word was worse than the last, affectionate, secretive, casual. They weren't hiding it very well from each other, just from me. I called my best friend first, the one person I thought would never betray me. Jamie answered, cheerful at first, but I could hear the subtle hesitation in her voice when I asked if she and Alex had been together. There was a pause, and then a quiet, "Yeah." I hung up before I could say anything else. My chest burned. My mind raced. How long? Why? Was anything real before this? I felt humiliated, heartbroken, angry, and completely alone, even though they were both in my life every day. I couldn't stay away. I showed up at Jamie's apartment later that evening. She opened the door, looking almost normal, almost innocent, like nothing had happened. My voice was tight, shaking. "How could you? After everything, after all the years?" She tried to explain, said it just happened. That it wasn't planned, that she didn't mean to hurt me. But her words sounded hollow, rehearsed. I could feel my anger bubbling up, and for a moment, I wanted to scream until my throat burned. "You knew what Alex meant to me. You knew I trusted you." She started crying, and somehow that made it worse. I hated that she could manipulate my emotions even now. I wanted to leave, but part of me needed to hear everything, to understand the betrayal fully. We argued for hours, her tears, my anger, accusations flying. I saw the mask fall off the friend I thought I knew, and what was left was just selfishness. After that night, I felt like my mind was a storm I couldn't escape. I kept replaying everything, their smiles, their secret jokes, the way Alex's hand lingered on hers in photos I'd never noticed before. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and strangely complicit for not seeing it sooner. Part of me hated myself for trusting them, for believing in people who clearly didn't deserve it. I started avoiding both of them, but even alone, I couldn't escape the thoughts. I would walk through my apartment and see reminders everywhere: his coffee mug, her scarf she'd left on my couch during visits. I couldn't eat properly, sleep properly. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart sank. I oscillated between rage and despair. Sometimes I wanted to text them both, demand an explanation, or scream at them in public. Other times I just wanted to disappear, to crawl under a blanket and never emerge. It was a hollow, suffocating pain I didn't think would ever end. The fallout didn't stop with the confrontation. Suddenly, everything felt unsafe: my friends, my routines, even my own home. I couldn't trust anyone as easily anymore. Mutual friends started taking sides, and I overheard whispers I couldn't stop thinking about. Jamie tried reaching out, Alex too, but I couldn't even look at them without my chest tightening. Work suffered. I'd zone out during meetings, my head full of their faces, their betrayal. I realized I hadn't just lost them, I had lost the sense of normalcy I'd relied on for years. Family gatherings became awkward. I was the one everyone tiptoed around, unsure how to bring it up. Even my sense of self was fractured. I questioned my judgment, my ability to read people, my worth. How could I have been so blind? I felt ashamed, like somehow their betrayal reflected a failure in me rather than theirs. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake, replaying every laugh and every lie, feeling the world closing in. Eventually, I confronted Alex alone. I wanted answers, closure, maybe even an apology, but what I got instead was more confusion and guilt. His eyes were tired, guilty, and defensive all at once. "I didn't plan this," he said again, like that excused everything. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I wanted to scream. "Did you ever think about me? About us? Or was I just background noise while you had fun with her?" My voice cracked, but I couldn't stop. Every word was a release and a dagger at the same time. He tried to justify it, to explain his feelings for Jamie, but it all sounded like excuses. I wanted to slap him, shake him, make him feel just a fraction of the chaos he caused me. Instead, I ended up walking out, shaking, hollow, knowing I couldn't stay, not with him, not with the life I thought I had. The betrayal wasn't just theirs. It was the collapse of everything I believed in. After all of it, I tried to go back to normal. But normal didn't exist anymore. Mornings felt heavy, evenings unbearable. I avoided places we used to go, music we used to listen to, even coffee shops where I'd met them. Everything was a reminder, a ghost of trust broken. Sleep didn't come easily. Nights were the worst, replaying messages, conversations, their faces laughing together in moments I wasn't meant to see. I started drinking more than I should, mostly alone, just to silence the thoughts for a little while. Therapy helped a bit, but even then, I couldn't shake the constant question, how could I have been so blind? Friends offered support, but some distanced themselves, uncomfortable with the drama. I felt isolated, carrying the humiliation and heartbreak like a weight no one could see. Every new friendship felt risky. Every message I received made me wonder if history would repeat itself. I didn't just lose them, I lost a version of myself that trusted without fear. Over time, the world I thought I knew shrank. Friends I'd known for years seemed cautious around me, as if they feared the fallout would touch them too. Some took sides silently, others disappeared completely. Even people who weren't involved treated me differently once the story got around. Whispers, awkward silences, subtle judgments. I realized that betrayal doesn't just damage the relationship. It ripples outward, changing how the world sees you. I withdrew. I stopped inviting friends over, avoided social gatherings, and said no to every weekend plan. I didn't trust myself to handle questions, or the inevitable comparisons, or the pitying looks. I became hyper-aware of everyone's intentions, second-guessing every smile, every compliment. Even Jamie and Alex were ghosts in my life, yet I couldn't stop thinking about them. The anger, the heartbreak, and the disbelief lingered, wrapped in shame that I'd been so naive. The sense of loss wasn't just about love or friendship, it was the loss of certainty, safety, and my own innocence. After that, intimacy felt impossible. I didn't trust people the way I used to, not romantically, not even casually. Every new connection came with a mental checklist. Are they honest? Will they stab me in the back? Are they too close to someone I trust? I realized that betrayal doesn't just break your heart, it rewires your instincts. I tried dating again, carefully, cautiously. But every text, every late reply, every little joke made me anxious. I overanalyzed everything. I imagined secret relationships behind my back, imagined laughter at my expense. It wasn't fair to anyone I met, and it certainly wasn't fair to myself. Even friendships suffered. I held people at arm's length, always half expecting them to betray me. Invitations felt like tests. Conversations felt loaded. And I hated it. I hated being cynical, I hated being scared, but I couldn't help it. For months, even years, the shadow of Alex and Jamie followed me, reminding me that trust is fragile, and sometimes, people you love most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. Months later, I ran into Jamie by accident. My first instinct was to look away, pretend I didn't see her, but part of me still wanted answers. She froze when she saw me, and I could feel that same old tension, guilt, shame, and maybe fear. I didn't know how to reach you, she said softly. I didn't respond immediately. I wanted to yell, to cry, to shake her, but I also knew that nothing she said could undo the damage. I'm sorry, she added, almost whispering. I wish I could take it back. I wanted to believe her, for a second, but I couldn't. Too much had happened. Sorry doesn't fix years of lies, I said, my voice quiet but firm. I walked away, and she didn't follow. That was it. No hugs, no dramatic confession, no closure. Just the bitter understanding that some betrayals can't be repaired. Some people stay ghosts in your life, no matter what. Years later, I still think about it, about them, about the person I was before it all fell apart. I've rebuilt my life in pieces, cautiously, slowly. I've learned to trust again, but differently. I watch people, I observe patterns, and I hesitate before giving my heart or my loyalty completely. Sometimes that feels wise, other times, it feels exhausting. I still get flashes of anger, the old hurt twisting in my chest when I least expect it. But I've also learned that resentment can't live in me forever, or I'd never move forward. I focus on the people who stayed, the friends who proved their loyalty, the small joys that don't carry betrayal in their shadows. The hardest lesson? That love and friendship aren't always safe, even when you give them everything. Some betrayals are cruelly intimate, and the scars last long after the guilty parties have disappeared. I've learned to carry those scars without letting them define me, but some nights, they still ache. Looking back, I realized that the betrayal didn't just break relationships, it broke the version of me that trusted freely. I used to believe that loyalty, honesty, and love were absolute, that the people you care about most would never hurt you intentionally. That belief is gone now. I don't hate Alex or Jamie in the way I did in the beginning. I've learned that hatred is exhausting, but I will never forget what they did, and I will never fully forgive. I've grown stronger, more cautious, more aware of human fragility, but part of me still mourns that life I lost. I mourn the innocence, the comfort, the certainty that everything would be okay. Sometimes I still imagine the what-ifs, though they only bring a hollow ache. If there's one thing I can tell anyone reading this, it's this: trust is precious and rare. Guard it, but don't let betrayal define the rest of your life. Some wounds fade, but some lessons last forever.